Well, it's clearly people power that has forced this decision, the revulsion that people have felt about what's happened at the News of the World, and indeed the decisions that advertisers were then making. But I make this point. The one person who seems to be staying in her job is the chief executive of News International, Rebekah Brooks, who was the editor at the time that Millie Dowler's phone was hacked. I don't think News International can hope to start moving on and dealing with these issues while she remains in post.
Are you suggesting that ordinary journalists on the paper are carrying the can?
Well, there are lots of people at the News of the World who will be being fired as a result of this, and they will be losing their jobs. But I don't think that the organisation can hope to deal with the issues that they're facing until they deal with the people who were actually in post at the time that this phone hacking happened. And we know that one of those people was the chief executive of News International, the current chief executive of News International.
Do you see this in some ways as a cynical ploy to try and boost News International's chances of getting the B-Sky-B contract?
I think it's more that what happened is that there was such revulsion and such pressure on News International that they're an organisation which is clearly desperate to know what to do next. And that's why they've made this decision. But I think, in the end, what I'm interested in is not the closing down of newspapers. What I'm interested in is making the people who were responsible for what happened pay the price. Now, that means the police investigation taking its course to find out those who knew and were doing the phone hacking, but it does also mean that the the heads of the organisation, the people at the top of the organisation, the people who were in post when these things were happening, do need still to look into themselves and I think, in the case of the chief executive, to go.
Suggestions that she was actually on holiday when the critical decisions were taken about phone hacking, that doesn't wash with you?
I don't think being on holiday is a good enough excuse, because if you're the head of an organisation, you're responsible for what happens in it. And the scale of what happened and the horror, I think, that people have felt about the hacking of Millie Dowler's phone in particular, and the other revelations that we've seen, continue to make her position untenable.
What do you make of the suggestion that David Cameron was warned before he hired Andy Coulson of the fact that he might have been involved in practices that perverted the course of justice? Does that, in a sense, call into question his judgment again?
I think David Cameron has enormous questions to answer. He has questions to answer about why he's not leading for the public and speaking for the country on the judge-led inquiry we need, on B-Sky-B, but also on his hiring of Andy Coulson. Hiring Andy Coulson in the first place when he had to resign as an editor at the News of the World for what happened on his watch, taking him into the heart of the Downing Street machine, as he did, hanging on to him when people were saying that there were allegations swirling around. I think he made a series of bad judgments, and I think they're judgments he'll have to account for in the coming days and weeks.